there's a trend there as well, in a way, of like the increased number of games, like you were kind of touching on as well, that like, when you came in kind of more professional club rugby in 2008, even the size of players getting a bit bigger, perhaps, like more kind of structured, more, 3-phase plays that you're calling out. With how the game has evolved, did you find that there was an extra toll being placed on the body over time, with that extra maybe expectation of games that you had to play? It is a discussion where, rugby is such a physical game. Would you potentially, worry for kind of the toll it can take on certain professional players, and kind of the discussion around that? Because the game's just evolved so much in such a short period of time that, the demands are increasing, it seems, all the time, at least physically.
Yeah, like it would be something I'd be passionate about, and like, how can you make the game safer? And like, World Rugby definitely has made positive strides. I think back on some of the rules that were allowed. The latching going into contact is one of the real positive changes that they've made. Reducing the tackle height, seatbelt tackles, they're all heading in the right direction. But I still think there's other positive changes that can be made. For me, for the tackler to have sole responsibility of avoiding head contact, I think is unfair. I think there should also be an onus on the ball carrier to avoid head contact as well. There's a similar rule in Gaelic football, for example. You're not allowed barge when you're in possession of the ball. I think that's a brilliant rule. And you definitely can bring something like that into rugby. Like pre-latching was something that I certainly didn't enjoy as an out half. At 90 kilos, having a guy running at you who's 110 kilos with a guy who's 120 kilos lashed onto him, that's a lot of force going through your body. So that would be another one that I would have welcomed to change. The big one that's concerning, it is definitely still concussions. Torn ligaments will heal, torn muscles will heal, but the concerns around brain injuries is one that you can't get away from. And I know there's a big legal case going on at the moment that everyone will be keeping a close eye on. For me, until the stand down period in rugby post a concussion is extended to a month, I don't think we're taking it seriously as a sport. There's for the majority of the time that I was playing, it was a 6-day stand down period. So you could get knocked out on a Saturday and still feasibly play the following Saturday. And I think a lot of the studies are showing that it's the second and third concussions that are causing the kind of long-term damage. But look, rugby is making strides in the right direction. I think it's been extended out to kind of closer to 2 weeks now, which is a positive step. But look, I'm not a doctor, but that would be something that if it came out that it was a month, I'd fully back it.
Yeah, it's interesting. My brother runs an MMA promotion. He puts on MMA fights as well, and he has his own business there, like putting on fights around Ireland. And he was telling me that, like, Ireland's kind of Safe MMA organization is kind of one of the premier organizations in the world, let's say, for preventing concussions. They're interesting to study. But in, let's say, the UFC in America, if someone is even TKO, let's say not knocked out, like completely out, still, before they'll even think of booking that person into another fight, it'll be 9 months. So they'll kind of give them this massive stand-down period, because they're obviously going to do a training camp of maybe 12, 16 weeks beforehand. So they're saying, look, no matter how good you feel, or no matter how much you think this was, maybe you got out in the light side of it, they won't book you for another 9 months. Like, it's a huge kind of stand-down period. So it's obviously rugby it's not the same as taking blows to the head in a fight or anything like that. But, it's the nature of it being week in, week out. And, these guys being, even you look at some of the French guys, a lot of the Irish guys now, the size of them and the way they're able to move, for the size of them, they're like sprinters who are carrying a huge amount of size on them. It's that week in, week out element of, like you're saying, the 30-day stand down period and so on. But I mean, recovering from that, bodily wise, week in, week out, is that also, you probably, after a game, you probably have a new, few new bruises, maybe a few things you kind of, nearly week in, week out. Would that be as much of a worry for you, nearly as much as kind of head contact, or not so much?
Yeah, I'm still probably asking myself the question, was it that I was getting old or were the games getting tougher? And I think it was probably, a combination of the two. But the reality is, look, players are fitter, they're faster, they're stronger. So they're able to carry the ball into contact with greater speed. They're able to do it, more regularly through 80 minutes than they would have 10 years ago. And then also the actual style of play. So, attacking quality, pass quality improved, and so has defensive quality is improved. So you've got ball in play is far longer than what it used to be. It used to be kind of closer to 25 minutes. We're now getting games that it's 36, 37 minutes, and within that, I remember back in 2009, if a back rower had a tackle count of 13, 14 tackles, that was a very good number, and now you're seeing numbers of 27, 28. That's a big increase. So that's where it's really important that, it's not a back row who's playing, let's say, 3-4 games in a row and potentially making 100 tackles in a month. That's where the Irish system of, you might play 2 games in a row and then you're rested for a week, and then you might come back in and sub for a week, and then you're back in for 2 games in a row. That's really important, both physically and mentally as well, because the pressure the players are under now to perform is so intense that being able to switch off within a season is really important as well.